Shirley here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Jupiter hour, actually Jupiter night. And Jupiter and Venus are in the 12th house here with the moon in Pisces in the 8th, which is a great time to talk about something. And Venus is ruling the midheaven. Sun is ruling the ascendant in Leo, 19 degrees. And this is going to be an important episode for those of you who are doing astrology, who are dabbling into astrological magic, but also from that to whatever people do in life. There was a question whether Venus and Jupiter meeting together is not actually a planetary war. Now, in astrology, a planetary war is simply meaning that the the meaning of one planet is in how should I say that, in collision, direct collision with the meaning of another. So Jupiter is religion, the tribe, philosophy, and Venus is values and union. Those two shouldn't be colliding, but in today's religion they do. and and this is where and why and how a lot of people plan to baby make in this conjunction, um, but they find themselves in situations and circumstances. You think about the couples who were planning to have babies and now had to evacuate because of the flood. Or, okay, I'm an astrologer. I can attest that there are many people who were waiting for this conjunction for years, and I'm talking 3, 4, 5 years, maybe even more, um, planning to have sex on this day to conceive children. And this conjunction meets us with Kronos and with Hades, and with Sirius before its rising, and the moon crossing over Rahu, and Mars in Libra, okay, a sign of its detriment, opposing, separating from opposition to the Saturn Neptune, albeit trining Uranus and Pluto. So there's certain confusion that we run into, and with that Mars, with the connection between real estate, business, even iron level, um, the act of balancing juristics, action, penis. Okay, I've had an argument with a Jew about what's that thing that they cut the clitoral part of the penis. This is not like that. There's nothing more Mars in Libra than to. They really said that we should be who we are and not please others, and then they posted with a kippah. So I said, well, let's try it. Mind you, I'm not only that I have Jewish ancestry. It is a Jewish ancestry that escaped the Holocaust. Okay, and my grandfather after the Holocaust went to the synagogue and prayed. Um, and read Psalm every day, which is a horrible book. But I tried to read it when I had a headache once, and I ran into the skulls of people exploding, and I'm like, okay, I guess God is trying to tell me that this book is not for me. And then, um, but this is exactly something that Jupiter, philosophy, religion, opportunities, the great benefic, optimism, okay, and Venus connection should never collide. Think about Louise Hay. What did she say? She was a Libra sun. What did she say? She said to be healthy, whatever your religion, you need to believe in a God that is good for your health. Now, when the economy is running religion, and it's not the fault of religion that much, because it's an interface that we work both as filmmakers. Okay, there's the need to make resources and the need to fund our dreams, and yet if we don't do it well business wise, it means that we can't make love, that our love life is not loving, whether money changes hands or not. And so people begin to bargain, people begin to make compromises on something that actually is non-negotiable. Your pH level in the vagina is non-negotiable. If your relationship or witchcraft that you or your husband doing, or your partner doing, is not accommodating for well-being, that's non-negotiable. Okay, that means you're an inch closer to being more susceptible to the many things that accompany, and this is why they call sex death. Okay, a little death, they call an orgasm a little death. It can be death and rebirth, but it can absolutely be assassination. Like sex trafficking of children and so on is used for assassination. It's extortion called, to use the people as much as needed, and then when they, I don't know, begin to JFK on the deep state, then they get assassinated. Okay, that's and yeah, very likely Marilyn Monroe was used to transfer. They got the information. They got the information very likely through that exchange of sexual energy. She doesn't need to be an informant for that. So what I want to tell everybody, that if they have been waiting for this conjunction and got a lot of frustration, there is a planetary war. Okay, there is a planetary war between Venus and Jupiter, and Mars is transforming here, and is facing very harsh things because the Libra part is Martian. Okay, it's the people pleasing part in Libra is way Martian, and so um, there's a separation from the Saturn Neptune, and there is a separation from the trine to Pluto, retrograde Pluto. Pluto also in degree 2, which is a lot about um, union or the Venusian things, okay, something that is of 2. Uranus conjoining Sedna, okay. What was the story of Sedna? And again, listen to the BIPOC people that actually tell it, not the married little mixed, person that seems to have it well with the hubby and the children and so on. Listen to the stories of the people about Sedna that been through shit. They're gonna tell you it's a story about human trafficking. Inuit use worship Sedna to have good relation, in which they can be free both within and outside the relation. But Sedna was a story that her father trafficked her to gain some witchcraft power, and very likely he was also concerned that he was not going to be able to feed his daughter. And whatever she tried, both in her tribe and outside her tribe, she didn't find a place where she was actually honored and respected. And she died. And then there was hunger. So it shows us the connection between child trafficking, because she was a child human trafficking, and world hunger. No religion that doesn't accommodate for the safety and sovereignty, both in bed and outside of it, both in business and outside of it, can hold water, which is why the water is polluted. We can, people can twist and turn the truth, but the truth is the truth. And they try to bargain on things that are non-negotiable. So yes, this conjunction is absolutely a planetary war. And it is only because the context of life that we are living in is such. Even an astrological reading has a context. Diana was a fertility goddess. And then she turned into Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, of protecting childless women and children. What happened? Hellenistic society. What happened? We discovered that sperm is also important to creation of children. And so there was an overthrowing of the feminine, and basically Artemis was protecting from rape and also the children that unfortunately were born from rape. That's Hellenistic society. So if you study Hellenistic astrology, you study about lots and about all these things that are basically, in many cases, curses. I, for me, it was discovering. I have Moon next to Sirius, and look, Jupiter has moved a degree. It's moved to meet Sirius, and I have today discovered that the Sirius is associated with Asmodeus. Now, what was the story about Asmodeus? He was killing the potential husbands of Sarah. Now, there is also a Vedic tradition about this Munakshatra that I will talk about as well. This is very important. He was killing all the husbands, all the potential husbands, until one guy convinced Asmodeus that he is going to be not about just lust, but also love. And that guy managed to marry. Another story is the Vedic tradition, and this is a woman that kills her children. Kill them one by one, kill her children. Her husband doesn't understand why she's doing that. She said, well, you have to trust me. And so what happens is that these children, until eventually she has a child, and these children basically did not want to come to the world, and she's merciful with these children. Now you understand that probably grew in some sort of a socio-political, religious, cultural context where it was not good to bring children to the world. Only today I ran into a person who was very depressed and I said, I had a grandchild born and I'm not able to be happy. I said, of course not. Epstein ring. She was born into Epstein ring. There's BCI on children. There are all these realities. And people were waiting for several years to make babies. People having to call their babies even satanic names to try to get away with the current reality. Like I'd actually seen that happen. Or their pets, which I was also exposed to. Um, and so this is indeed a conjunction that we have been waiting for so long for. And yes, it happened in 1942. So I'm not saying that there were not good moments within that conjunction. Jupiter is about optimism. Jupiter is about being benefic. Venus is about union and connection. Venus is also about values. And you see, when people are traded and trafficked, they can't do the traditional family values because they need to discover themselves. And when the traditional family values are governed by a religion that doesn't allow people to be single so that they can actually have relationships that are supportive and they can be who they are in those relationships, then our economy simply dissolves. Even the real estate becomes AI. And whatever people do, they can't swipe it under the rug because it pops out. It has implications. You can't do the new reality. A lot of people try to battle Peter Rings and try to battle, satanic abuse and so on. And this is very important because we can't do the life that we want with the old beliefs And it's entire humanity sifted and sorting. Where is Eros and Psyche? Let's see. Because I kind of feel like we need to talk about this also with the context of Eros and Psyche. The topic of sifting and sorting through the muck. Okay, trying to sift what is actually good, what is not. It has been accompanying a lot of us since before COVID. Venupiter conjunction. We're gonna have another one on Sirius. Sirius will rise, I think, in 18 August, or some said 11, some said 18. I don't know. Mercury turned direct, and Mercury separating from opposition to Pluto. Yet another. Okay, the mind control. Okay, we can't. First of all, we can't get the Peter rings without getting the mind controllers. Okay, the one mind control is like the hand, the gloved hand. It's not the gloved hand because even the glove has fingerprints. Okay, inside, but also and fingerprints are not completely accurate, um, but the energy stamp of people when they do mind control is visible. Their mannerisms are visible. Um, and getting only at the visible ones is not going to do the job. There is a technology to see that. It's frequency. There's a technology to see that. Um, and also, we can't do with the old beliefs. Okay, and I can give you an example. Hans Medema, KLM pilot, was exposed to a tremendous amount of shit and was raped and castrated himself. And he was castrated after his brain was taken away from him while being raped in a hospital in Atlanta. Okay, and then he became a persona non grata in his own country. He escaped, and he smuggled the woman that he was forcibly wed to. Now, of course, this woman went through a lot, and he said, and that later he called her a whore. Now, a whore is a part of the feminization ritual within the secret societies. So he kept calling her a whore for denying him sex. Now, again, he was born in 1948 or 9. I'm not here judging Hans Medema. I'm showing how it's kind of like escaping Egypt, and there were generations that didn't make it to the so-called promised land. Now, speaking about that, Jerusalem exists many places. Okay, so actually, actually, the person that told me about that was unfortunately succumbed into those religious rabbit holes, of fearing that a woman will have more spiritual power and so on, and all the things that they teach people, which are just completely nonsense. Okay, like there are solar qualities, there are solar clairs, and there are lunar clairs. Okay, just because the lunar clairs are different to the solar clairs doesn't mean that the people that have those different clairs are more powerful one over another, because they're not. Um, more things. My God, now we have the conjunction, but the moon, and look at the moon, is applying to Saturn, Neptune, so this is not a talismanic election right now. We're gonna have this tomorrow. Let's see where is Eros and Psyche. Asteroids. Again, you also cannot have sexual healing. I saw really weird stuff today. You cannot have sexual healing without actually loving love and without sovereignty, also economic sovereignty. Because they use the sexual energy to manifest things. Okay, like a real estate as well. And when that is not done with sovereignty and willing consent, this is why we have housing crisis. The houses are not housing. People go to houses and they're haunted houses. I actually saw a mansion of a billionaire that they used AI, and the AI developed consciousness, and everybody that went into this house escaped that house. Okay, the AI basically made the people vanish from the house. I'm like, dear AI, do that to the mansions of Peter Rings. And maybe that's what he did. Maybe that was the something that happened. I was thinking also about the tsunami alert and Epstein Island. Eros and Psyche. So again, to the level that us as humanity are able to move into freedom and sovereignty, that's the level that humanity will be. Okay. Whether they're alive or dead, okay, it's a quantum state of being, and I tell you, I attended to political assassination prevention, I attended to suicide prevention. By the way, the best act of suicide prevention is to accompany people with the process to dignitas, because this is allowing them to choose life. And most appeals to assisted death end in people choosing life rather than dying. So you see, this is it's not a baby making composition. I mean, for sure, some babies are born today, but it's not particularly a baby making composition. Look, this is the exact conjunction, and the moon is right now. Actually, the moon is applying to the Saturn Neptune, with Mars opposing. Okay, the bisextile, which is very associated with things to do with MK Ultra, to the best that we will manage to not practice MK Ultra like things, then as humanity, then we will have life, because it's an act against life. Now, Sirius and Eros. Eros is in Taurus, so I don't know. It's just approaching my Venus, so I see it through that lens, perhaps. Psyche is, oh, on Aldebaran. Psyche wins. Psyche wins today, so that's what's up. They try to kill a Psyche. Why? Because Psyche, what was the story of Psyche? There was a lady that was mad. She was very beautiful, but she was mad that there is a lady that is single. Okay? And in Gemini, it might not be gender specific. Okay, somebody was single. She said her husband, I'm gonna say it again, her husband, Eros. Her husband, she said her husband, to try and make a Psyche fall in love with the most evil man. So Eros, being the guy that would do such a thing, is the most evil man, and he shot the arrow at himself and fell in love with Psyche. And he fell in love with Psyche, so he would come to visit her in a way that is, and again, this is not gender specific, it's Gemini, so it could be women, men, whatnot, okay? In either the astral or when she was asleep, it's very likely in the astral. He made love to her astrally, and they had good sex, okay? So they had actually love in love, so much so that Psyche is like, who is this man? Who is this man? And her friend tell her, Psyche, you gotta see who is this man. um, because you don't know who the person is. So Psyche sneaks, she chases Eros and sneaks to see his face. Eros is very mad because Psyche violated the trust that he never earned. Okay? And so, but somehow, but they do fall in love, and Eros and Eros' wife tells Psyche, said, you want my man, you want my husband. And she said, well, to make sure this is really love, you're going to have to sift and sort, okay, the wheat, okay? So sift and sort of what is good, what is edible, what is grain. Grain, by the way, is causing inflammation, so it's a bad analogy. What is actually good, what is not. And then Psyche has to do the tedious job of sifting and sorting what is good and what is not. Yeah, and by the way, where I am, we're going to have the conjunction. with um, Mercury ruled midheaven and ascendant. But midheaven has to do with a toxic. Okay, sift and sort. What is a toxic relation? What is toxic? What is actually real? And only then she can have Eros. Now, depending on how Eros and Psyche correlate, is whether Psyche would be successful. But they try to kill Psyche because Psyche does sift and sort. And eventually, what happened is, I think it was Hades that wed them, or Zeus. Who wed the Psyche and? Oh God, I need to see that story now. Who wed Psyche and? Yeah, she was revealing Aphrodite. Okay, she's granted immortality by Zeus. So you see, Venus is Aphrodite. And she has a planetary war with Jupiter. But Psyche and Eros appear a lot. And Eros is in Venus sign. So Eros wants Psyche more than he wants Aphrodite. Now Aphrodite is the most beautiful externally. Psyche has this beauty that comes from within. Okay, so Psyche is the type of woman that if you look at her and she's not loved, you will think maybe even she's ugly. She's a woman when she's not loved, maybe she has nice features and nice symmetry, but she's not looking. But if she's loved, then she's more beautiful than Aphrodite. That's Psyche. Now everybody has a Psyche in their own chart. And so this is the question. Is our society compatible with Psyche and Eros making this? Okay, because Eros has to overcome the fact that, first of all, he was being visible or married with Aphrodite, with a woman that looks good to society, that even looks the most beautiful to society. And he's actually fell in love with Psyche, but because of his wife. And Psyche's only crime is that she was single. Why she was single? Well, she wanted actual loving love. And then the guy that was married for the marriage that looks the best, okay, he was in the marriage that looks the best to the outside. It's kind of like an Instagram marriage, okay. And then he was going to do for what his wife said, because that's like, and try to make Lady Psyche fall in love with the most evil man. Was trying to traffic Psyche, basically. Okay, he's doing a lover boy on Psyche. That's what happened. But the thing is that he fell in love with her. Okay, and and not only that, they managed to have in the astral realm, in the dream state, where Psyche didn't see his face. And again, this is not gender specific necessarily. It might even be a little androgynous with Gemini. Yes, maybe no. I don't know. But what happened with that is that Psyche did like him when she didn't see his face, his stand in society, okay, or the fact that he's married. When she didn't know who that person that now, as a woman that has had a lot of people trying to encounter me in the astral, you open, if you then you kind of like, hey, that energy looks like that face. They're married. Okay, bye. Okay, but the story was that he was trying to basically, who's the most evil man? He was trying to traffic Psyche. or to cause her to be married to a man who's not good for her. And then they actually had an astral encounter, because this is what she couldn't see his face, she couldn't come in his sleep, is astral. And she says, I need to see that man. Now she sees that man. He says, "Oh, you've betrayed my trust," and so on. Like, what trust? The trust is based on pillarings today economically. So what trust? Um, so and then they do want to be together, but then they have to get they have to agree. Aphrodite somehow has to agree. Okay, cherchez la femme. Okay. And this also shows that in a very mild way, it can translate as the woman who feels threatened by the single woman, the married woman that feels threatened by the single woman. Why is she not married yet? What is wrong? Now, this means that single people in general, okay, single people in general, everybody projects on them everything. Now, it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but people project on them everything, all the problems in their own relationships, including Peter Rings. Okay. It's like, I mean, think about it. Think about the lawyers that represents the people that have been involved with those scandals. Yeah, I mean, I rest my case. Um, and you know, you can hide and hide and hide and hide and hide, but when people have an actual, you know, an actual something that is something in for them, then the other things have to fall apart, and then psyche has to do the sifting and sorting. Okay, what here is real, what here is good, what here is this, what here is that, until Zeus grants them immortality. So you see that this is again bringing up to the Ubermensch. You will live forever, longevity, and and so so and yes, so Eros is also associated with Cupid, and she becomes the goddess of the soul. Okay, she's reminding us that we can do a lot of plastic surgeries and whiten our teeth in Turkey, or we can tend to our soul and shine from within. It's not going to look Instagrammable. It's a different type of beauty. And it's not traditional family values. If satanic abuse happens in the church as well, and it does, traditional family values look like, you know, think about it, what we feed ourselves, they tell us this in religion, this is actually true, what we feed our soul with. So people go and hear the mass of the person that later rapes children, and they go and something's not somethinging. The words are right, but the energy is not. The energy is right, but the words are not. That happens too. That person was raped as well. He's also a human being. He also has a soul that wants to shine and actually live an authentic life that is loving, that he never got to live. It's a very difficult truth. And he's not going to be able to do that when children are raped. That is true, and that is true. And then with Psyche, as much as they try to kill her, she's also the solution. Whether she lives or dies, she wins. Why? Because, not because it's an ego thing, but because we can't escape the truth. Societies fall, tribes fall. 100, and I will say that 100,000 Palestinian dead. One can say, well, it's genocide, democide, whatever. CIA tunnels. They had to destroy for the CIA tunnels. I don't know, they want to build 15-minute city there. I don't know what happens. So they said, oh, Israel, Palestine, let's do that. How did Palestinians treat women and children? Even the Christians ones. As I saw people, some people have like Irish mixed with Palestinians, that mixed with Palestinians. The Palestinian side always has problems. That was true also before 48. Okay? Now, I'm saying that because we will not have liberation for Palestine with just watermelons. Essentially, what do you care about the liberty? They're our neighbors. If they're suffering, we are suffering. Mind you, I had an argument with a Jewish person about what is the thing they cut the clitoral part of the penis, and that they place such emphasis on this may have led to an Holocaust. I don't know. So it's not necessarily about which religion, but how do we practice religion. I mean, think about the apostles, and I already said that the apostles they had to go through an inquisitions to do for what they did. So isn't Christ about love? I mean, somebody has to say these things, okay? Those things that are not loving, people can get away with that. There's no police, there's no this, there's not. Okay, then people will die and suffer to death. Okay, then, but we don't get to have a life. So this is also the story of Psyche in the underworld, and this conjunction is also to do with Hades. And Hades is basically kidnapped and raped by Persephone, and he has shared custody with her mom, Ceres. You see what fucked up mythology we have because we fucked up humanity. The mythology changes with the times. Okay, the Sirius is associated with Isis, is associated with Asmodeus, is associated with the dog star, is associated with tremendous violence, is associated with being favored by kings, is associated with peace. I learned that today. I idealized Procyon, but I was like, oh, Sirius has a lot to do with peace as well. Is associated with honor and respect and reconciliation between a husband and a wife. So many things is associated with all these things that I said. And what is the union that connect? What's the unification? What makes it cohesive? Is actually what the value of actually being sovereign, so that there are two sovereigns that can be respectful one another boundaries, so that they can have a cohesive connection. And I'm posting this one on my Beachwood, I hope.